Well, good day. My name is Craig Blanchette, Global Director with Take Shape for Life. I'm also an optimal health coach. And this is our Health Coach Huddle. It's our weekly time where we get together. Believe it or not, even though we are health coaches, every one of us is also a client. So we're sort of professional optimal health people. I don't know. But what I love about this time together is we get together and support each other in community. We get to talk about things that matter most to us, and then we get to build some of our skills. And so for the next 15, 20 minutes, we're going to be going over a couple of events that are happening coming up, and I want to help you get some brain space around some of the events that are happening. We've got two things that we've been doing that are we're super excited about, and so we're going to just jump right into that this morning. And so welcome everybody. I'm super excited to have you join me. By the way, if you are watching this live, you can go to your favorite podcast player and type in Health Coach Huddle or Team Blanchette, and you will be able to find this podcast in audio version. You can also go to YouTube and type in Team Blanchette, and you'll be able to find it there as well if you want to watch it on video, because we have a bunch of pretty faces, although everybody looks like they're not smiling right now. What's going on? Come on, there we go. Turn that frown upside down, right? Anyway, so a couple of events that I have coming up here that we're doing. I want to help you guys and cast some vision about an event. We're going to have 6 of these every other month for 2017, and it's called Health Talks, right? So who here, by a show of hands, has been to a TED Talks? Or not been to, listened to one, or familiar with the term? Yeah, right. So they're pretty cool. A TED Talks is pretty cool information. It's a concise format, 20 minutes, I think 19 to 20 minutes. They have to stay under 20 minutes. And they really just talk about reality and the world that we all live in such a way where we hear the speech, hear the presentation, and we're like, yeah, that's right. Oh man, that's a really good way of expressing the world that I live in, right? Depending on what it is. Sometimes it's very out there stuff, and sometimes it's very practical. Well, what we've chosen to do, we've got a team, and who here has been to one of the health talks that we had a couple years ago? Okay, so quite a few of you. So basically, we're continuing that on. The interesting thing that we're going to do is, and I know I cast some vision on this last week, but I really want to make sure that you guys get the model of what we're actually doing. And so I'm going to share this screen that I shared last week, and evidently this resonated with many of you. I know Alex was inspired to record a video talking about this. I saw Kim Stewart, and you have you posted something to help people get context. And so the words context and content are super deep words. And so there's a lot of content here. But for me, the content without the context, it ends up being confusing to me. And I have a hard time sort of getting the gear, my car in gear so it moves forward. But what we're going to do each one of these, we're going to have each health talks, we're going to have 4 speakers, and they are going to be themed presentations. One of them is always going to be these different cornerstones. So your health coach, or another term for that is mentoring and modeling, right? Habits of health, that is what to actually do. So that's going to be themed, what kinds of habits do we build, maybe how habits are formed. There's a lot of things that can be talked about in that second cornerstone. The third is community, the value of community, what it's like to work together on something, and all the different ways. So every talk, every other month when we have these, it'll be a discussion about community in some way. And then fuelings is the 4th cornerstone, or maybe the 1st, I don't know. But the fuelings is, how do we be healthy in the world that we all live in today? Like this practical 2017 year on planet Earth. How do we take what our ideals are and combine that with the reality of the world we live in and say, how can we fuel our bodies? Because what I find is when I go too realistic or too idealistic, I either don't eat because there's nothing there to eat, which is not ideal, or I eat the wrong thing, which is not ideal. And so we have to practically plan a way to make fueling our bodies realistic. And so we can talk about, there's a lot of themes and talks that we can have around that. And so I'm curious, bring on Alex for a minute here, and you had some brain space and some sort of ways to express how these work together and how they support those three capstones. Mm-hmm. We call that the trilogy of optimal health. And so would you kind of unpack that a little bit for us, and then we'll have a discussion.
Yeah, if you'd like me to do it live, I can, or I can put that video up on just for a second. Either way, what would you prefer?
No, I'd prefer live.
Okay, sounds good. Well, there's a couple fundamental principles, and I want to let you know what I'm doing here with this so that you can do it in your own voice. You know, I've got my own style that I talk at, and you've got yours. But the principle was...
Share the video or share the screen when you're talking or not?
What's that? Oh, yeah, I can share it. Sure, I'll share it from mine. So, Craig, first off, man, thank you for this model. Teaching frameworks and models are actually brilliant because they help people learn at lightning speed as compared to words only. Would you guys agree? Seeing this healthy, like, palace allows you to go, oh, I could take shelter underneath this from all of the debt and obesity and stress that wants to rain down in our lives. This can protect me and give me a safe haven. Oh, and I can actually invite other people into this type of place. We can enjoy each other and take a little refuge. You know, who cares if there's a big, huge snow blizzard storm if you're in a resort lodge with all the accoutrements and amenities, and you're bundled up with a fire and your friends and a mocha. But you totally care if you're in a blizzard and a storm if you're outside in it in a swimsuit. That's a problem. And a lot of people are in their lives outside of this structure and this shelter. So for me, again, thank you, Craig, this model was like, oh, I've got a story to tell now. This is so good. So the principles are, you're able to engage people with something that's already in their mind, a framework that they understand is shelter and stability, and a framework of, being inside of something. So you're not having to teach something, like Craig said, with all this content and they're just vague. So starting with why, well, this visual is great. Now you see at the very top of this, okay, so let me go into the principles again. You're connecting with people on a level that they connect with. Notice my tone and my energy is I'm connecting with some passion with this to keep people engaged. People are would you agree we're all easily distracted? Super simple. So you want to bring attention back with your energy and passion. And then when you look at the trilogy at the very top, each of the pillars, though, holds up that trilogy. So that's an ideal at the top, but that ideal can't exist without the pillars supporting it, and the pillars can't exist without the foundational cornerstones. And so being able to articulate that to somebody and say, hey, if you want to have, but let me go ahead and say one more thing before I get into that. Being able to articulate to somebody without giving them the context or the reason for why we want this structure and shelter, much like the blizzard outside, but yet we can be inside cozy. Would you like to be able to feel healthy, amazing, and vibrant, even though there's all of these fast food stores and all these temptations and all these other things out there in the world? Would you like to be able to feel peace of mind and just that you can live and stay healthy, even though life is busy and there's a lot of distractions? Would you like to be able to have your finances taken care of and to know that your bills are going to be paid and that you're actually going to have extra and abundance, even though the world is stressful and changing times? That's, again, coming back to that peace of mind. That's the context. And then the content of all the little things we do is here. So, Craig, I could go further.
That's good.
Exactly what I said, but I've got a video I shot that tells you how I put together. I'd rather teach you the principles around it of why we want to use frameworks like this.
Yep, great. And so you can stop sharing. So the point that For me, I had a hard time getting traction with Take Shape. Not a hard time, obviously, plenty. I mean, I get plenty of traction. But for my mind, the confused mind does nothing. And so when my mind was confused, I would go do something that wasn't confusing, right? And so for me, after 6 years of doing this, I was trying to figure out, first of all, when it just doesn't quite, the coin doesn't quite drop in the, in the slot, right? And you just can't quite get it. You have to for me, I have to figure out, why am I not getting it first, or become aware that it's not quite connecting. And so I've been spending a lot of time in this Quadrant 2 time. And I want to talk a little bit about Quadrant 2 as well. Spending this time there, and then seeking to become more aware. Now, I think that did rhyme. Spending time in Quadrant 2 and becoming more aware. What it's done for me is it's helped some of these things that I didn't even know I didn't know sort of click into place. And my challenge, especially for a new coach, everything is so exciting and so new, and you have all this stuff that we do. How does the trilogy equate to the 4 cornerstones that Take Shape for Life offers? And coaches would ask me all the time, I know how to help people with healthy body. And they relate healthy body directly to the fuelings, right? But how do I help them with healthy mind? Or they would ask me, as a coach, where's the coaching information on how to coach to a healthy finances other than becoming a coach? I'm thinking that it's all around us. I mean, think of it this way. You could break each one of those cornerstones, and each one of those cornerstones by itself can build into the capstone of the trilogy. For example, healthy finances. Well, how would healthy finances, or the fuelings, how would the fuelings specifically relate to healthier finances? Well, when you ask the question, I know things are coming to your mind. One of those for me is, what if you reduced your medications? Would that change your finances? Of course it would. What about healthy nutrition for brain food, and how it helps you to think more clearly when you're not eating all this junk and this processed crap? Your brain is going to be more focused, so you're going to be more productive at your job. Healthy finances, right? What about, how do fuelings help me with healthy mind? Well, those are some 2 ways there. But what about the encouragement, so healthy mind and finances, I now feel confident in applying for that position that I thought I was unqualified for, but I've actually qualified for. Now I have this confidence inside because I'm losing weight and I'm feeling more confident in my skin. So those are all just some practical ways as how fuelings can help with the healthy mind or finances. What about just managing, being able to moderate your grocery bill? It gets very, very predictable when you're on the 5 and 1, doesn't it? You don't have these wild swings that most people don't even know about. So this is the context that I was trying to help figure out of how each one of these cornerstones can build into the capstone, or this fundamental idea of the trilogy. And as that became clear, actually it was my wife. You guys really owe almost everything I do to my wife. She's pretty solid. And she's like, well, she's just asking me questions and help me unflush this. And then I had this vision in my mind of these 4 things support that. And all of a sudden I go, it all makes sense to me. So that's what that graphic came out of it. And hopefully you see that and you go, context and content within context. So aside from that particular graphic, which is part of this Quadrant 2 time, where I'm spending time with the necessary but not urgent thought processes. I'm going to share a little graphic here that I've shared with you guys before, and it's leading me up to my main point that I want to talk with you today about. So you have these 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is going to happen. It's just part of life sometimes. But if you spend more time in Quadrant 2, I think you'll spend less time in Quadrant 1, right? So Quadrant 1 is the quadrant of necessity, important and urgent. If you cut your finger Quadrant 1, baby, right? You got to stop. It's urgent and necessary, right? But when we spend time in Quadrant 2, that's things like exercise, like personal quiet times or devotion, relationship building, taking time to go out to lunch with your kids or your spouse. That's Quadrant 2. It's not, if you don't do it today, it's not, the world's not going to end, but it's important. That song Cats in the Cradle? That's because his son didn't spend time in Quadrant 2. All right, the father didn't. And then when the son got old, the son didn't spend it, right? And so here's a personal challenge to you. And it's up to you. I challenge you for 7 days in a row to get up 2 hours earlier. I know. Ooh, that might be hard. Ugh. And take a pen and one of these, piece of paper or a little book, and go get some coffee or something warm, whatever you want. Don't go to your office where you normally do work. Find some other space in your house and spend some time with your thoughts. And there's 2 particular questions that can start your time. The first one is, what's something I'm looking forward to this week? This is a Philippians 4:8 principle, which says whatever, in abbreviated, whatever is right and lovely, just and praiseworthy, to spend time to dwell on those things. So if you don't see something that you're excited about, there may be something there, but you're not tuned to become aware of it. So this is that time where when we went out and bought a Mini Cooper, right? Just a few months ago, we're driving home and I think, and everybody else who are all these people that just bought Mini Coopers? What just happened? Well, nobody went out. I mean, maybe there was one more on the road and it was ours. But because my awareness had focused to something that I was looking for, I become aware that there was a bunch more around me. And so when you start to focus on what you're looking forward to, what you're excited about, I mean, and it's not a manufactured thing. There really is something there. And when you start to look for it, you will see it and your gratitude will increase. The second question, after you spend some time there, is what would I rather not deal with this week? And I put that word rather in there to kind of soft side it. So it kind of comes in the back door of your brain. What am I avoiding? Doesn't quite have as much charge, in my opinion. But what's something I'd rather not deal with? I know I'm going to, but I'd just rather not. And write about that and write about why. And, well, if I were going to deal with that, what would I do first? Maybe just kind of structure some of it down. And then just spend some time, maybe just with your thoughts. I don't know what it is. You can do a lot of things with that time. What are some of the dreams? Remember at Sundance, Alex, I met with, we had a session, he and I together, and I talked about some writing that I needed to do. And it was a manual, and I wanted to write these 4 different modules on journaling and on exercise and brain health and all these like things that was going to take some deep thought. And my brain says no thank you to all of that. What I found is the reason why it said no thank you is because I hadn't given myself the space to allow it to happen. And trying to have a 15-minute quiet time, I'm gonna make some strong statements, and you can choose to disagree with me. But if you start with 2 hours, your brain will think luxury, lots of time here, and it sort of can just kind of do its thing. And then the next day shows up, and you're kind of like looking forward to it. And then the third day, you're like, man, I can't wait to have that time, right? And 15 minutes isn't enough. I don't think a half an hour is enough. You might be able to do it in an hour, but start with 2 hours of luxury time. And the first day when you get up early, you just have to commit. Do it because you said you would. That's what got me out of bed that first day. And that night, I was tired about 2 hours earlier, believe it or not. So the next morning when I woke up, it wasn't this big of a deal. By the 3rd or 4th day, I was on a rhythm, right? And so I want to challenge you guys for 1 week to do that. And then when we do our health coach huddle next Friday, to have some aha, something to share about what's different, what your experience was like. And just go spend some time with you. If you have some writing that you've been putting off, if you have some people that you really care about, but you just haven't talked to them or paid attention to them in a while, write about that. Focus on that. So that's my charge to you. And as we finish up here, I just want you to really get on board with the vision of what health talks are going to bring. They're going to be everything that Optavia stands for. Everything. But the context and the content of how we deliver it will have our own flair. Hopefully we'll be able to tie things together. So the format, in case you aren't jacked up excited already about this, and you can't wait for it to be here, is we're going to have 4 speakers, 10 minutes max. Really minimal slides, so we're not doing death by PowerPoint. And then we're going to have a story after that topic that will highlight, like if it was a story in the fueling category, that person's going to tell their transformation story, but they're going to highlight the value of being able to fuel their body correctly. And then the one on community, they'll talk about their transformation story, but they'll highlight the value of community and how that's affected them. So the content will have context. And we all love that personal story that someone gives. It kind of solidifies it, and they go, yeah, that's me. I relate to you. You're human. I'm human. Boom. Right? And so we're going to have this great content that hopefully will be inspiring and will relate to the world they live in. And then we'll have a story that will solidify it and personalize it. Right? So that's happening. And if you're not local, we're gonna Zoomcast it. So it'll be broadcast all around the country over Zoom. But if you're here locally or you're close enough, maybe an hour or 2 away, I hope you'd come in person. And we're going to be at the Water Resource Center. So any questions about those 2 particular things, about the context and content and health talks and how you guys can be an integral part of that? No, pretty simple. Great. And as we're closing here, which we're closing up right away, we've been having this groundswell. Who here has been part of a power hour? Raise your hand. Okay. Yep. And I know Martin has. So all of you have been part of a power hour. We had 22 people show up on Monday. And one of the things, I'm just so grateful, by the way. Oof, man, I'm going to cry about this. I'm so grateful where I'm at in my life right now and what just all of you to share this with me. But it's so amazing to just, as I'm seeking awareness, that I'm becoming more aware. And one of the things that I've been aware of is that as coaching is it can be lonely. You know, and when I said this to the guys on the power hour, a lot of them did that, which you just did. Coaching can be lonely. And even though we're constantly connected with people, we can still be lonely. And what I found as I'm trying to pay attention to why is that happening? When I worked for the computer store, I would work from my home many days a week, and then I would go out and meet with clients on site. But there was one day a week that I drove all the way to Lake Oswego. It's about a 45-minute drive, and there's traffic, and I'm in the rat race with everyone else. But I went down there because while I was there in Lake Oswego, I looked to my left and looked to my right, and I had a bunch of people that were crazy about Apple computers and were just geeking out. And I got to have these fun little conversations about stuff. And I did it because there was community there. And I would drive all the way down there just for that. Well, these power hours are a little taste of how we can have peer-to-peer community over the things that we love. We love helping people. We love health. We love paying attention. We love learning about that. And so if you haven't been part of them regularly, I want to just invite you to come back. We have them 6 days a week for an hour. And we have about 30 minutes broken up in that hour that is that looking to your left and looking to your right and saying, hey, did you see the new iPod? It's awesome. That kind of talk, right? We're just talking about fun stuff. We're getting focused. And then we have 30 minutes of actual pounding the phone, following up with people. there's so many people that are making connections with other people. I personally have a bunch of inactive clients, but I also have this other thing, if you've been coaching for any length of time, called client roll-up, where a coach decides to retire or not coach anymore, and the people that they've touched roll up to you. The likelihood you have a great relationship with those people is small. They deserve a coach, right? They got involved some way through you. And so I've spent some time just trying to reconnect. Hey, I know you don't know me, but I'm so-and-so's coach. They've decided not to coach anymore. And so it's my responsibility to make sure, I'm sure you're not done with working on your health yet, just like me. So you relate to them, and then you talk to them. There's so many people that are like, oh my goodness, what? I can have this kind of support? Are you kidding me? Because generally those coaches that roll out sold them a box of food. They just didn't really understand our model. So they probably had no coaching. Talk about an awesome place. There's people that are in those client roll-ups that are dying to be a health coach. They just don't know they can. And so this is some of the time that we spend. When you carve that time out, you do it. I know Alex is coming back regularly. Many of you guys are coming back regularly. So I want to invite you to tune in if you haven't. And if you're watching this on the recording later, there are different times, different days. But the coaching, the link to get to it is bit.ly/HC, that stands for health coach, power_hour. And that will take you to the shared calendar. And I'm going to share my screen right now because I want to show you guys all what that actually looks like. Because many of you, I've said, hey, do this. But when we actually do it together, you go, oh my goodness, I didn't do that. So let me share my screen, and I want to show you something that's super, super powerful. So can you guys all see that there? It's this picture of the Power Hour screen. No, let me reshare here. There we go. I bet you can see that now. So when I clicked on that link, it took me to this. This is a public calendar, okay? And events in the bottom left corner here, it says events are shown in Pacific time, right? Well, so you could just see this and say, oh, at 1 p.m., 9 a.m. Well, I want to draw your attention to the bottom right. And for some reason, when I say bottom right, before, people just didn't get what that meant. I didn't. I've been looking at this calendar for a long time, and I'm like, what's this button down here do? Well, when you push this Google, it says a little plus, Google Calendar. Click it. Magic happens. It actually takes you to your Google Calendar, and then it says, do you want to add this to your calendar? I've already done it. But so now I have Health Coach Power Hour here, and they're in orange. So it shows when they are. And so it's going to superimpose this calendar over yours. Now I have in yellow is my Zoom calendar for doing workouts. Blue is me, and this orange is the Power Hours. So you can see we have them different days during the week. And so when you click on that, it's going to superimpose it there. And that way you can actually, you don't have to add it to your calendar. What I would do is when you see when it is, create an appointment on your calendar at the same time next to it so that you block off your calendar to be there. And anyway, so that's a little bit of technology. Obviously, we talked about health talks and why, and hopefully that graphic, which is on the Optimal Health Coach Facebook page, gives you context for the content so this can lock in and we can actually utilize our energy to move forward instead of just trying to figure out where the gears are. Make sense?
Yeah.
Comments? Questions?
I just want to give a little bit of a how to implement. We had some seriously great content in this last hour. A lot of content though, right? Would you guys agree? Talked about a lot of different things. How many of you forgot we even talked about chapter 4, right? How many of you forgot we even talked about this really cool Parthenon with these pillars and that capstone, right? And then we got the Power Hour, and then we've got the healthy talks coming up and how cool that is. And then all the little in-between nuances that we shared in the stories. And sometimes it's easy to get lost. Again, where am I at? What's true north? Hopefully, and if you weren't this time, hopefully you were taking notes. And what you were doing is you were starring things that were extremely relevant right now. And if you want, you can go back and listen to this and kind of fast track it. But think about what is relevant now that I can act on. What is something that maybe can be moved to a certain time that needs to be acted on from this? And whatever is really relevant now or whenever, you can then put some blocked time to go a little deeper into it, meditate on it, make that mental rehearsal happen, and then take action. That's really, really key. Craig, you encouraged us, this is the last thing I want to say, you encouraged us to time block a little space after 10 o'clock, or after, excuse me, 9 o'clock to 10. So at whatever time you're on Pacific East
So
Coast.
after this meeting, you mean?
After this meeting, time block a little time after this meeting to process this and decide what you're going to do. This is the thing that years later you'll look back and go, why did I not take the time to implement? What we just got was all the inspiration. But if we don't act on that and get it sorted into our calendar and decide what's relevant now, we'll go to the next thing we're going to do and get more inspiration. And before we know it, we're loaded and we're just lightheaded with all this stuff. Is that true?
That's where I was for years, and that's why I gave you the 7-day Q2 challenge.
Yes.
All of this, hopefully, I don't know if you can see, my brain seems to be like focused and clear and passionate, and things are just making sense to me at a whole new level. Oh man, thank God for that. And part of that was that Q2 time. Mm-hmm. So that's why what Alex is saying there is you got a lot of stuff there, and it's got to get the content has to be provided context. And your 2 hours, your Quadrant 2 time will help you with that thing. I honestly believe that. And so part of your time might be all these things that come to your mind, and you have your journal and you start writing them down. Oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you just let that time kind of be free form. And I think that's going to help. I trust that you will figure it out. You're going to know what you need to do, and you'll start to discover as you become aware of these things. It's going to happen for you like it's happened for me. And I know Alex has the same time. And I'm telling you, oh man, just wait. So good.
It is good. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, great time with you today. Thank you for joining me here. We have a power hour today at 1 p.m. Pacific. And it's going to be a madhouse. Awesome. So I hope you join us. And thanks for your presentation today, Alex. Thank you. I love the maturity of this group, and I love the connection we have, because you guys, you inspire me. You give me things to think about. You help me understand the world I live in, and I appreciate you all for that.
Right on. Thank you.
See you next time. Take care.